Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast. I'm your host Ashwin. I'm joined by DJ this week as we do a Champions Trophy edition of this episode. And before we get into it, DJ, I will apologize. I don't have any of my normal setup. I'm in the midst of moving the city, so I'm recording this on an iPhone, so audio quality, video quality may not be what it normally is. But DJ, how are you doing, man? We're about 6-7 days into days into the Champions Trophy. And actually, at the time of recording this, we already have our Group A semi-finalists locked down. How are you feeling? Or Group A. That's right. Yeah. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm well, man. I'm well. So, you've apologized for the audio quality, but for those guys who are watching on video, I've realized that my mic is actually quite far away from where I'm sitting. So I'm slowly moving it into without getting it all disconnected and losing connection.
What a great start to this episode.
I think I'm here. I'm in. Yeah. Excellent. We just started chatting about why you have a green background on a show which is an Indian cricket podcast talking about Indian Pakistan. So I clearly got distracted and didn't do my technical checks that we otherwise do.
But yeah. Anyway, after 35 years, we should have started this episode with after 35 years. Pakistan gets one, and then by day 4 they're I mean, I shouldn't.
As defending champion, no less. They were defending champions, boss. Pakistan defending champions 2017 Champions Trophy.
Right into it. And that's what we were supposed to record this, honestly, right after India-Pakistan, which is awesome. Good result. Good to be able to record. King is back, all of that stuff. By the time we're recording this, New Zealand has defeated Bangladesh as well. So that's what I mean when I say, as you and I are sitting here, man, Group A, each team has only played 2 matches. There's 1 match left. Yes, India versus New Zealand will matter for who goes into the semifinals leading the table. But, I mean, the group is done, right? Bangladesh and Pakistan both lost both of their games. Meanwhile, Group B, also very interesting because Australia won from a position that looked tricky. They beat England. It was exciting. South Africa looks solid as ever. But a lot more potential scenarios happening, in Group B, which is the other group. So, anyway, DJ, let's start with kind of overall Champions Trophy. It feels like it's been a little bit less excitement than previous years' tournaments, if you will. I don't know if that's me projecting a little, but IPL's around the corner. The T20 World Cup just happened. What role does the Champions Trophy play in the cricket calendar for you? And are you feeling it a little out of place?
I mean, the question is, what role does ODI cricket play for you in the cricket calendar? More generally, isn't it? It's like, we've been fed on such a diet of T20 cricket. Even people who were naysayers to start with. I probably started off saying this is popcorn cricket. Who cares about this format of the game? We all started off like that, right? But to sit through 50 overs now,
like 263. And
it is hard work.
The 350 that England
hard work.
made in Australia just down slightly different. I just feel like sitting through 100 over. And for some reason, I can sit through 90 overs of Test cricket back-to-back days. No question.
But I was thinking about this the other day, right? There's more narrative, there's story, there's an arc in Test cricket. It tests you physically, tests you mentally. Things happen in clusters. The game bursts into life. There's you can see the attrition between players. You can see it, how hard they're trying. It's over 5 days, right? So there's a massive physical element to it as well. Conditions tend to not affect it as much. I mean, the conditions change, but it's not like if you bat second and a dew comes down, the game becomes easy and you win because you're chasing, right? Batting first typically usually has
you can dig back out, right, in Test cricket. Whereas in 50 overs, anyway, we're going.
Yeah. I mean, there was a bit of that, right, in the Bangladesh game. And we should talk through the Bangladesh game as well, because they were 33 for 5, and then Rohit dropped that catch of Akshar.
Poor guy.
I can't believe that.
Okay, we'll get into specifics. But essentially, I guess, the question cricket has to grapple with is, I mean, if Test cricket is a movie, and T20 cricket is a 20-minute fun sitcom episodes, 21 minutes or whatever, where does ODI cricket fit in? And I think it's a bigger, broader question, because on the one hand, we're celebrating records that continue to be broken in ODI cricket by the king himself and all of this positive stuff. But it has left a little bit of a question on the role this format plays. But DJ, I'm going to go backwards actually, because if we start with India Bangladesh, half of the guys listening will drop off. So let's start with the main event that was India Pakistan. And before I get into the actual event, has this also been a little bit of a match that till, I don't know, 2012, 2013 was a huge deal, big hype, all that. And yes, the rivalry still exists. And yes, the hype is still there, but it has not felt like the competitiveness of India, Australia, even India, England over the years. And I want to play it because obviously I can say this now that we've won. But there was so much hype as usual for India Pakistan game, and it sort of left a little to be desired, didn't it?
I mean, I was on another podcast yesterday, and I think what I was saying to those guys was there's been more hype off the field with the whole BCCI, PCB, ICC, Malaki, the why is the Champions Trophy Pakistan logo not on the India Bangladesh game? We are not coming to India. We are not going to Pakistan. The cricket was left a lot to be desired. It was like no dramas, easy chase. It was, yeah. I mean, most of the drama was off field, as is usually the case with these teams. Pakistan have beaten India in 2017, then in 2021. They've lost 11 times out of the
Yeah,
14 times they've met in ICC championship
yeah,
in ICC events. This is not a team in transition anymore. This is a team that has no one you know in it almost left. Like, Babar Azam, Shaheen, Rauf,
yeah,
Naseem Shah, maybe. But who's
yeah.
Khushtil? Who's Salman Aga? And maybe it's our ignorance, right?
Sure, yeah,
Because we
yeah,
don't watch
yeah,
the
yeah,
PSL and we don't follow Pakistan cricket as closely. But like you knew who the players were in the Pakistan cricket team. At one point, you knew who their bowlers were, you knew who their batters were. And
yeah.
it's a function of us not playing enough and us meeting to. But even between the last time we met Pakistan, like, have how much of that has their team changed since then? Yeah, it's not I mean, they're minnows, man. To be honest, it's such
Ah,
a sad thing to say, but they're minnows of the World Cricket game, the bottom of the World Test Championship, right? They are, and I'm not
yeah.
saying this
No, no.
because we're an Indian cricket podcast. Just look at their record, right? They're already out of the Champions Trophy. I don't know where they are in the one day game. They haven't qualified for the last T20 World Cup. They didn't qualify for the last ODI knockout stages.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, I'm actually sitting here.
where? What? I mean, they did the T20 World Cup. We went to the final
Yeah,
in Australia, like 2022,
yeah,
right? Fine. But that was also freakish because it was all the Kudrat ka Nizam, and like it was we've come back from the dead
yeah,
like in 1992. They lost
yeah,
to Zimbabwe in
yeah.
that tournament, if I'm not wrong, as well. It's just like
Pak Bean. Remember Pak Bean?
we're not having a serious conversation
Listen,
about cricket here.
yeah, we're having a serious conversation, and I was talking about Pak Bean. But
Park Bean, I
no,
forgot about
you
that.
almost were. Like, I understand the format and qualification, all that works. But Sri Lanka has just beaten. I've lost you now with Pak Bean. That's great. For those of you watching on video, you'll know I've absolutely lost DJ. But Sri Lanka has just beaten Australia. Sri Lanka has
But
just
what a
beaten
thing to
Australia.
do as well. I can't get
All
over
right,
Park Bean.
deep breath. Let's
Sorry,
get back to
serious
because
face.
that's why people are here. But Sri Lanka just beat Australia in 2 ODIs, right? Pretty convincingly too. And yes, I understand they didn't qualify and all that, but it makes you wonder, like, what are we doing? Would Sri Lanka have given this tournament a bigger shot? But let's get into the game. I know it's been about off-field drama, etc. We have to talk about India versus Pakistan. Like it or not, we are guilty of driving this hype that doesn't exist, but we're going to do it anyway. Pakistan, Rizwan wins the toss and chooses to bat first. Talk to me about that, DJ. Dubai, obviously, different pitch to what they're playing in Pakistan itself. But when you have the greatest chaser in the history of the game on the other side, why don't you make him bet first? And it's an oversimplification of a complex decision. But talk to me about that decision first to win the toss and bet.
No, the decision itself is not wrong. I think India made it look pretty
Yeah,
hard to chase against Bangladesh, to be honest. We only won with
yeah,
like 3, 4 overs left, maybe. I don't know. It wasn't an easy chase, and It
Yeah.
was not hard. It was quite hard to get the ball away. So the decision to bat first is not a wrong one. I think they're probably worried about the pressure of
Yeah.
a big game. Pakistan. They did the same thing in the ODI
Yeah.
World Cup, if you remember, and Bumrah just blew them away. And India chased those runs quite easily. I don't think they got many runs in that ODI 23 India Pakistan game. It was like 100 something, maybe. Here they did okay. They conserved their wickets, but that would have been their plan. Let's try and absorb some of that pressure and see what we can do. But again, it's kind of hoping for a miracle. I was sat there watching that.
Yeah.
Honestly, it was like win the toss, bat
Yeah.
first, but then
Yeah.
bat like you're in 1980. Like it felt like those. It gave me a real 90s vibe. That was like I was waiting for like Azharuddin to come out to bat
I
at one
mean,
point because I was like, what's happening? They're batting at 4 runs and over. It's in the Middle East.
yeah.
It's like 34 degrees over there. The stands are half
I
empty.
mean, it
Yeah, it
was just really
was
tough to
tough.
watch. That's the only way
Tough
to
watch.
articulate it. At one point, when they accelerated
Yeah.
and got to almost 5 runs and over at the 35 over mark, we were saying, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing! This is what it could have been like." That's still only 5 runs and over in a game that is now breaching 350 routinely. I understand the conditions and all that. Not a lot to write home about. South Shakil made a half century. Kushdeal honestly saved some blushes after 200 for 7 and managed to get them to 241. Thoughts on in Team India selection? So obviously no Varun in the lineup, right? Kuldeep is a lone kind of pure spinner because Akshar is a number 5 batter now, which we'll come to. Akshar and Jadeja run to spin options, and then we will come back to talk a little bit more about Mohammad Shami. Didn't take a wicket in this game against Pakistan. But Hardik also bowling full spells, Harshit bowling. How are you feeling about Team India's composition? Which is a loaded question to ask after 2 pretty good wins on the trot. It feels good, but also important that we talk about it.
I mean, it's a great testament to the team that there's hardly any changes from the 23 World Cup, right? Like the one swap that I can really see is
Yep.
the Harshit Rana for Bumrah swap. And
Yep.
of course, that's a bit
Yep.
of a downgrade without any offense to Harshit Rana fans. But look, I mean, it's almost the same lineup that went unbeaten in 10 games. Akshar's come in
Yep.
instead of, I'd say, probably Ashwin in a
Yep.
couple of games or Siraj, right? So that's the change. And then Sky had
Yeah.
come in because Pandya got injured and the balance went off. But that's pretty much it. Like it's the same squad. It shows you the consistency of the ODI team. And when you contrast that, and this is what I was kind of saying, when you contrast that to the Pakistan team, like
Yeah.
you don't know half of these guys. And I think Imam was flown in from halfway through a
And then
domestic
got
game
run
where he
out
was batting on
in.
150. And then he went running straight all the way back to
By the way,
that game to carry on batting
Akshar
by
got
the looks of
2
it because he was run out
incredible
by
runs.
miles.
What not just Imam but Haris late in the innings as well. Like I don't know if you saw that throw when he got Haris out, but
Yeah.
just
He's going to get the
phenomenal.
fielding
Yeah,
medal for
he's
sure.
Jadeja
It
2.0.
was great.
Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah. CJ, why don't we talk about then the start of the chase, and then we'll take a quick break and talk about the most important part. But Rohit and Gill come out. Gill scored runs against Bangladesh. Obviously, scored a great century, which we'll talk about next. Rohit also actually looked good against Bangladesh. He came out playing that role, and he did that again against Pakistan, where he was just like, "I'm going to hit my way out of the power play and try to give the team an edge and advantage." But Rohit ended up getting out in the 5th over, and yeah, I guess we'll go to break when I talk about this. I will send you this screenshot, which I haven't yet, that I meant to send you. But I was messaging with Varun during the game, okay? And after the first innings ended, I was like, man, these 250 odd run chases, they just suck. They're just like, I'd rather be chasing 120, call it a day, or chasing 350 and it's exciting. And I know we want Team India to win, but it's boring to watch a 240, 250 run chase. And Varun responds to me. I'll give him credit where it's due. Saying the thing is, we're going to lose 2 wickets in the first 20 overs. Then we're going to have a great partnership. Then we're going to lose two late wickets and panic a little, and then they're going to win by 6 wickets. I swear he wrote this and it's timestamped on WhatsApp, and this is literally exactly what happened, right? Rohit and Gill go, then Shreyas and Kohli make that partnership, and then Shreyas and Hardik get out, and of course the team sees it through. So, DJ, without further ado, let's take a very quick break. We'll come back and talk about what I know you are waiting to talk about, which is the King's 51st century. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back. Welcome back to the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast. DJ, number 51 for Virat. I mean, it's just one of those things you've seen so many times. Both Virat centuries, by the way, and Kuldeep wickets. So one of those things that you know are going to come. The player's talented, inevitable, and yet you just feel this inexplicable, unbridled joy when it happens. Is that how you felt, by the way? And regardless of how, we'll talk about how he got to the final 100, despite some Shaheen wides that looked like they would make it improbable. Like, how great is it to see Virat make a century? And how many times have we said that over the 7 years of this show? That's true.
It's been fewer times in the last few years, I can tell you that. It's been a bit of a grind to be a Virat Kohli fan. I don't want to get ahead of myself again, but it was vintage Kohli, man. It was just complete control of the chase, the master of the chase. The reaction at the end said a lot as well. Like, he seems to really save his best for
Yeah,
Pakistan.
why is it?
I
How
can
does
think
that
of
happen?
lots of knocks. He's got
He
183
has
once
won.
against them, Asia Cup. I don't know, and they respect him for that as well. Like, he's loved in Pakistan for, like, they're like, why can't we have players like
So here's
Virat?
the
And
fun
you're just like,
fact.
wow.
No player
Like, okay,
has won more than 3 Man of the Match or Player of the Match awards against the same opponent in ICC tournaments. Virat has won 5 against Pakistan. No other player has won more than 3 against the same opponent.
yeah.
I have it in front of me, so I didn't.
Can you name the 5?
But, okay, let's go.
Okay, so I can name them, I think. In ICC tournaments. So the Asia Cup doesn't count, obviously. So Adelaide 100 against Pakistan 2015. He scored, want to say 50 against Pakistan in the ICC T20 when he bowed down to Sachin.
Do
It
you
was
remember
like
what year
over
that is?
50. It wasn't 100.
Well done. You got 3.
2016. He got
Of course.
he
Like,
scored
why was that
Melbourne,
not the
of course,
first one?
2022.
Yeah.
No, I'm trying to do it in order, but
Yeah.
I'm probably
That's
missing
4.
it. This one, of course.
This
And
this
now
one
I'm trying
is
to
tough.
think
You gotta
where
really
else he's got.
I'm glad I didn't just tell you. No,
Maybe he's won it in the under
I'm going to
19
tell you.
World Cup. No,
We
he didn't get it at the. No, he wouldn't have won it in the 2011
close.
World Cup. 2013
Yeah.
Champions Trophy. We were there. Varun and I were there. Oh, he did. He scored 50 in
Right?
that game. Rain
He didn't get
Curtail
Man of the
batting
Match
second. He got like 50
or
something.
Player of the Match. He won it in the World
He did.
T20 before it was called a World Cup in 2012 in Colombo. He made 78 of 61. Yeah, same. I had no
Oh
idea.
wow,
No
no clue,
recollection.
no clue. But yeah, but he scored a 50 against Pakistan in that
Yeah.
Champions Trophy game, which was rain truncated as well, from
That's
what I
it.
remember. What is his average
Let's
against
find out.
Pakistan? Just for ODI average. Junaid Khan got him out like 3 times, but I'm guessing that almost the only 3 times he's
Yeah,
got
I'm going
out
to try to
against
pull it up while
Pakistan by
we
the
talk.
sounds of it. No, that's crazy. No, but we should talk about it because it was vintage Kohli when he started pulling those like cover drives out against Rauf, and there wasn't much foot movement. So it was like, okay, you're just like, please don't nick this.
Yep.
Because Babar went out a similar way, right? But then there was a certain sense of calm that descends on Indian cricket fans when you see Kohli in that mood, right? Like he's knocking singles, his feet are moving fine. It's boring, but it's exciting in its own way. Because it takes you back in time to when he was just churning out 100 after 100 after 100 in every single chase. So it was just great to watch it. I mean, not to forget, 2 years, well, less than 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, he was man of the tournament, high scorer, 900 plus runs in the World Cup, right? It's not like he's forgotten how to bat. We just remember Australia,
Of course.
which is more recent. It's recency bias, but in a different way.
Form has been what we remember for the most part because ODIs aren't that exciting anymore. It's just great to see, man. And so I will just close on Virat, by the way, with your stats. He averages 58.2 in all ODIs, 59.8 against Pakistan. So actually better than his total average, but not by all that much. Averages 60.2 against Sri Lanka, 66 against West Indies, 65 against South Africa, 53.8 against Australia, 71.6 against Bangladesh. I mean, I'm like, where does he average below? 41 against England, so slightly lower than, or quite a bit lower than his total average. 31.5 against Netherlands in 2 games he's played. Anyway, now I'm going off the rails.
Okay, yeah. No, but he also went past 14,000 runs in like
Yeah.
60 innings less than the great Sachin Tendulkar himself. Like that's not a
I mean,
record you would ever thought would
he
be
has two
broken,
more
right? Like
centuries than
Sachin
Sachin, and I think
was,
160 something fewer innings. It's mind-boggling stat. Yeah,
yeah, it's just staggering,
correct.
and they
Yeah,
don't even
yeah.
play that much one day cricket anymore, right? So like if he played as
I
much
mean,
one day
Sachin basically
cricket
didn't have a
as
third
Sachin,
format. Yeah,
Tendulkar, who's the
Sachin didn't
god
have a
of
third
cricket,
format. Yeah.
right? I don't know. You do the maths. Why don't can you
I,
like extrapolate
I
how
probably can.
many
I can't do
hundreds
that
he would
live
have
while we're recording, but at
in
some point we can.
ODI cricket?
But DJ, let's quickly talk about the last couple of overs.
Okay.
So 17 to win, and Kohli's on 87, so 13 needed. Okay, Shaheen comes in, couple singles, whatever. I think at this point it's 15 to win, and Kohli needs 12. Great, doable. You're not solving for the century first. You're not. But when you're on the trot, when you're on the way to 2 wins on the trot, and it's not looking like net run rate will matter. I know there were plenty of people, including Shreyas, by the way, who are critical about not winning it sooner. Is all Shreyas said. And we'll come back to that. But I'm like,
He wanted to watch a movie. He wanted to go and watch a
um,
movie.
but
That was the issue.
so 15 to win, 12 for his century, 2 wides, wide. Kohli gets 2 runs, and then another wide, 4 runs off of wides, and suddenly the match starts getting tricky. Obviously, no spoilers or anything, but Akshar is just taking singles, and I think they needed 3 runs to win when Kohli got back on strike and he hit a boundary. Because if they had run 2 or 3, it would have been hard. He couldn't have gotten it. So great that he got exactly 100 not out. But like how at this point does the opposing team do that on purpose to try to avoid the personal milestones and stuff, or do you think it was just poor bowling from Shaheen?
No, I don't think. I think Shaheen had a pretty off day. He had one ball on target, which was the Rohit
Yeah.
world beating type of in swing Yorker, and Rohit was just like, okay, fine. But then he wasn't trying to bowl
Yeah.
wides. He just was bowling badly. And Rizwan was being Rizwan, and Pakistan wicketkeepers have always dropped the ball, starting with the Kamran Akmals of the world, right? Like it's not.
Yeah.
It was a shabby performance, man, overall, and it would be imputing too much malice to that Pakistan cricket team who's barely holding it
Yeah.
together at that point. They're not
Yeah.
doing any maths or calculating anything, so they are going to be out of their own home
It
tournament.
is
It's
sad.
sad to see, to
Yeah,
be
we
honest.
I mean
Like
we
apparently the
joke
crowds have
because
been
as
great.
India fans, obviously it's
Um,
entertaining for us, but it is sad, right? Like you're sitting here seeing a pretty crushing loss to New
yeah,
Zealand in those 60 runs or so, and then obviously 6 wicket loss or 5 wicket loss. No, is that who 6 wicket?
but equally, we should have a discussion about whether India actually has a home advantage in this
Yeah,
tournament because they don't travel
yeah,
anywhere. They
yeah.
play the same pitches in the same city in front of the same crowd. All their games
So in that world,
will
if
be
India
in that
does
one
somehow
stadium.
win this Champs Trophy, which I
Yeah,
still don't
fine.
see, by the way, but if they do is there a little asterisk on it because of all of the off-field stuff, or do you still think it counts? I mean, all things considered, they could have hosted the tournament without India. They could have they could have been alternate choices. India, yes, has too much power in the world of cricket, no question. But I mean, it's not the 11 guys' fault on the field that they're getting an advantage.
It's not. And I mean, but the fact
Yeah,
is
no,
that
no,
India don't have
yeah,
to travel. They don't have to go anywhere. They just stay put in one place. They stay in the same conditions. Like Karachi is different from Lahore, is different from Rawalpindi, is different from Multan. So I mean, I don't
yeah,
know whether there's an asterisk as such because the teams have to come
yeah,
to Dubai to play India there, and the pitches in the stadium could be different.
yeah,
They could have, in theory, you could have a seaming pitch one day as part of the square, and
yeah,
but it's unlikely to be the case, right?
yeah.
It'll be kind of similar. Yes, there are some grounds where you've got red soil, black soil, and you can change it up. I don't think Dubai has that level of variety, to be honest with you. So, I mean, and these play teams have all played in these conditions as well. So
Yeah.
I don't know whether there's an asterisk as such. So Pakistan was had UAE as home for ages, right? So they know those conditions pretty well. New Zealand, who's going to play India next, there
Yeah.
has won in Dubai previously, playing test match cricket against Pakistan, right? So they know the conditions, but in it's an advantage, I would say. I think in an elite sport, you
Yeah.
take whatever little advantage you can get, right? Like it's like Virat Kohli doing those extra reps in the gym to reach the ball to take that catch to enable him to
Yeah.
become
Yeah.
India's greatest ever outfielder.
You do it. Yeah. Whatever it takes.
It's those it's those
Yeah.
extra
All right,
inches of
DJ,
advantage
we've used up
you
most
take.
of our time on India Pakistan, but 6 games are over in this tournament. And by the way, I know there's some critics of the format and how like after just 2 games the home team is knocked out and all that. I like it. No game is without stakes, right? Like it's almost feels a little like a knockout tournament. If you lose, you don't have much of a path back. You can, yeah, yeah,
Which is what it
yeah,
was. That's
yeah.
how it started. It was the ICC knockout.
So
Is what it was when it started.
let's run down quickly. By the way, I realized as I was starting to look at the scorecards for this podcast, every single one of the first 6 games has had at least one century. That's kind of a fun fact, right? So let's do the rundown and we'll spend the last couple of minutes talking about Bangladesh, India. But New Zealand defeated Pakistan. I think that one had dual centuries, right? Will Young, Tom Latham both made centuries. New Zealand made 320. But India beat Bangladesh in a chase. Fantastic Shubman Gill knock, which we'll come to in a second. South Africa beat Afghanistan. Pretty disappointing to see from Afghanistan, a side that has been a force on world cricket. Great Ryan Rickleton century. Apparently he's been working with Hashim Amla, by the way, who is faster than Kohli to 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 ODI runs. So had Hashim had a longer career, he would have maybe been up there on the stats. But anyway, England, Australia, Josh Inglis, who apparently has an English passport too. So it's not just his name that sounds English, but his passport is English too, in addition to his own. Josh English.
So he's Joss
His
English?
passport is English.
Joss English?
That's Josh Butler.
Oh, that's Josh
English.
Butler.
It's too much.
Fake.
But great century.
Josh English and Joss English.
A couple of points in this show. I've tried to reel us back in, but lost you. And then, of course, we talked Virat, and then Rachin Ravindra, yet another century with white ball cricket for him against Bangladesh today. But DJ, let's just wrap up by talking about this Bangladesh-India match, right? So, first off, you were the most excited at this fifer. So, talk me through how you felt about the return of Mohammad Shami, and what is it about Mohammad Shami and ICC events versus non-ICC events?
It was great, man. Like Shami comes in, takes 2 wickets early doors. Bangladesh seemed to be in a bit of a hurry to try and smash everything. They picks up 3 with the old ball. I kind of lays rest to any questions around his fitness before he then actually went off injured in the second Pakistan game. So hopefully gets a rest in the third game. No, it was. I mean, he's come back from injury, man, and he took I think he said he felt like a toddler before he was walking, and it was like it's tough for a guy who plays cricket and could not even walk, right? But it showed that he still had the skill, he still had the magic, and he still had the willingness. Maybe he wasn't he's not back to his peak fitness, I would say. He's not, or maybe it's the heat in Dubai. That's the other factor. I was like, he's not looking as fit and smooth that that Temple Run up that he has, where he comes in. It was not looking as smooth as it would usually look, but still good enough
and then,
for five.
Chasing
in that
not
game.
a tough target, 228. It was a tough pitch. Let's be clear. The ball wasn't coming onto the bat. It looked tough to bat. How good was Shubman? Rohit got us off to the start. Virat ended up perishing. Shreyas, Akshar didn't do well, and then spare thought for KL, who came in. At one point, to your point, after that 4th wicket falls with still 20 overs on the board, you're thinking India has made what should have been an easy chase look more complicated than it needs to be. But Shubman was just clutch, right? Are we back to thinking he's the prince?
Yeah, it was awesome. I think we are, man. He scored 100 again. He's got 87 against England, and he got a few. He got 100 in the last ODI. He's now got 100 in the first Champions Trophy game. He's got a few runs in this Pakistan game as well. Before he got a really good ball that took his. He got a 50 before that as well. So it's the consistency of runs, right? It's the inevitability of those runs, which I think Shubman is now starting to churn out those scores. But no, I mean, Rahul getting dropped in the Jakar Ali in the outfield, repaying the favor that India had given Tawheed Hridoy and others. at 33 for 5.
Yeah.
I mean, that game could have been over 60 all out.
Yeah,
Right?
full
But then
full
Hridoy got
yeah,
100, and we should acknowledge that
yeah,
as well. That was a very good knock. But the moment of it was actually
yeah,
that Rohit drop of Akshar. It was, I swear,
yeah.
as far as slip catches go,
Yeah.
man. Like, I'm not an international
The
cricketer,
easiest drop you've ever. Yeah,
but I can guarantee that is the. If you ever had to ask for a catch to come to you,
yeah,
it's like the ball is
yeah,
flighted slowly.
yeah,
He's seen the ball all the way into his hands. It's
yeah,
like it's an
yeah.
international hat trick that he's
Just yeah,
in an ICC event.
yeah,
It would
yeah,
have been replayed over and over and over again. And Akshar Patel has, and I wonder what he's taken
yeah.
him
I
out
mean,
to
he owes
eat
him all
on
kinds of
Friday,
things.
because
Anyway,
that was his reply.
Owes Akshar all kinds of things. Yeah,
It's
it's
sick. What a
unfortunate but
sick
great
drop that was.
opportunity. All right, DJ, as we wrap, some big games coming up tomorrow. By the time you're listening to this, you may have happened. But Australia plays South Africa, both with a win on the board, so not likely to eliminate one. But whoever wins will probably cement their spot. Afghanistan plays England, both needing a win to stay alive. Because again, mathematically, it's still possible. But then obviously, I cannot look at an Australia-Afghanistan match without thinking of Glenn Maxwell and maybe the greatest knock of all time. And so it's going to be really interesting. Where India plays New Zealand, I think the format, if I'm not mistaken, is top of the group plays second in the other group. I actually think the groups are strong enough that whether India wins the table or not, or tops the table or not, doesn't really matter, to be honest. And so
I think an
it will
India
be pretty
Australia
great,
final
man.
would be
But
fitting
only
too.
only if we come out
What
on
do
the
you
right
think?
side.
A little bit of revenge.
Kohli lifts the trophy. Rohit
But
and Kohli say
I
in
think
1929 hours, consider me retired or whatever.
no, they're not retiring. This is all uh, dress rehearsals for 27. I'm telling you this. There's no way either of those two guys are going anywhere till 2027 World Cup.
I can't think of
No
a better
chance.
note to wrap this up because I have no good words to say about that, so I'm just going to pause. We will find out. We'll find out. We'll cut that clip, save it, and find out if Rohit and Kohli are still batting at number 1 and number 3 in 2027. DJ, thank you for joining me. Thank you to everybody for listening. I forgot to say this at the break, but if you're on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, leave us a comment. We'll be back next week. Hopefully, me with Mike and full setup on a normal Sunday recording schedule if we can swing it. And Champions Trophy will be in full swing. We didn't get to talk too much about the WPL, so we'll talk a little bit more about that on Sunday. It's been good and alive and kicking, even though Delhi's kind of started strong and started to struggle. But DJ, thank you for joining me. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We'll be back next week. This has been the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast.